All right, how is everybody doing out there? I'm 10 Tampa Bay Chief Meteorologist Bobby Deskins. It's Sunday night, 9:21. There it is. It's time. Uh, let's dive right in. Tropical Storm Idalia trying to strengthen a little bit out there this evening. The 8 p.m. update came out with 45-mile-per-hour winds. It's not a whole lot, but look at this convection that's going on here. I mean, that's legit. You can see it's really starting to fire up there near the center as well. We'll see if that tends to hold out. It looked pretty decent earlier today as well. The movement is east-northeast. We do not want to see that. And the reason why is the further east this goes, the further east it's going to end up going in the Gulf of Mexico. And that's us here in the Tampa area. So drifting slowly, of course, but still, it's not necessarily what we want to see. There's another view of it right now. You can see, I wanted to point out here up to the north. Notice some of the cloud tops that are up here. They're getting blown off to the right here. It's kind of tough to see here, but there's a bunch of wind shear up there. This thing is hung out down here for a while, and as a result, this wind shear is eventually going to let up. But since it's still down here, it's not going to drift into that wind shear and get sheared apart. So it basically will hold its own down there, and then when the wind shear starts to fall apart, then it starts coming north, and that'll happen during the day tomorrow. So that is where we will get started. Let me zoom in here a little bit more so you can see this a little bit better, and let's get right to it. All right, so let's start with the latest track from the Hurricane Center. First of all, look at that loop-de-loop that it's been doing here. Right, there it is now. 45-mile-per-hour winds, movement at east-northeast at 3 miles per hour. Tomorrow afternoon, there it is. It drifts to the north. And see, that's why I said we want it over here. We don't want it over here because that distance right there gets multiplied when you get further out in time in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. But nonetheless, that's where it is now. Hurricane Center says 65-mile-per-hour winds by tomorrow afternoon, and then look at that. Now calling for a Category 2 hurricane with 100-mile-per-hour winds near landfall up towards Chiefland. Crystal River is right there. Tampa is right there. And I'm not convinced that this doesn't come further to the right. I hate to say that. Now, this water is very warm, of course. The depth of warm water is not as deep here as it is down here. So a lot of the strengthening is going to be in this area right in here. When it gets near our shelf waters, it does get a little bit cooler at the bottom, not a whole lot. The forecast for this to keep getting stronger is because it stays over land from here, over water from here all the way up to here, right? If it moves over land, it'll weaken. That's not happening. If this goes further to the right, perhaps it doesn't get to 100 miles per hour if it went in at Tampa or Sarasota. It might be a little less than that, but then if that's the case, then you got a landfalling hurricane here. But look, a couple things here. It's an eye storm. Ian, Fort Myers was on the edge of the cone at one point. Look where Tampa is, edge of the cone. Charlie, right up through Orlando. All right, so this is not set in stone at this particular point, and hopefully it stays where it is. After that, if you're watching from the Carolinas, Savannah and Georgia, there's not a whole lot of land that it's going across here. So it'll go from about 100-mile-per-hour winds down to 60, and then half of it gets right back out over the Gulf Stream, the warm waters, and then you got 60-mile-per-hour winds Thursday. So Wednesday afternoon, 60. It maintains through Thursday because it's hugging the coastline. So that's a tropical storm from Savannah to Myrtle Beach. Well, Savannah, Beaufort, Myrtle Beach, and then all the way up Wilmington, then up towards Morehead City, right? And that would be Wednesday into Thursday. Okay, now let's go to local here. If you're watching elsewhere, I'm the chief meteorologist here in Tampa Bay at 10 Tampa Bay, the CBS affiliate. So this is obviously focused on this area. But you can see we've got hurricane watches in the pink. That means essentially 40 to 60 mile per hour winds with gusts to near 80. That's what we're thinking right now. And those highest winds will be right along the coast, but we could see some gusts, in the inland locations. Now, you also see Polk, Hardy, DeSoto. Those counties are actually all in a tropical storm watch. Winds, say, 25, 35 gusts in the 40s to maybe 50. All right, and the timing for this is Tuesday afternoon through Wednesday afternoon, but especially Tuesday night to sunrise Wednesday morning. That's when most of this will be coming through. We also have a storm surge alert. It goes from, look at it, just near Marco Island all the way up, almost to Panama City, not quite that far. If the storm goes in here, the highest winds are going to be coming in right in here, right? Just think about counterclockwise flow. So you get that kind of thing right there. And look, and that's happening as it goes by Tampa. And that will push it right into the mouth of the bay. And I think if this pans out like we think it will, I think some of the worst storm surge will actually be in the northern part of Tampa Bay. So I'm talking Oldsmar, Hillsborough, downtown Tampa, Davis Islands, Harbor Island, all those areas is where we're looking at the water piling up. And that includes Pinellas County as well, too. So Old Northeast, not as much for you guys, but you get up to Shell Isle, you get up to those areas. And definitely Shell Acres. That's what I'm trying to think of. Now, forecast models. Fairly good agreement, not only to landfall, but even right up almost to Charleston, and it spreads out a little bit. But some of them are coming a little further to the right. There have been some outliers that were actually over here earlier, and they've kind of fallen off. So this is pretty decent news, especially if it will take this westerly track. I'll tell you, the Hurricane Center has been shifting their forecast to the east, to the right, throughout the day today. Not good for the Tampa area or anywhere on the Gulf Coast of Florida, just because of the peninsula, because that's where it's going to scrape by. All right, so now this is the forecast model that we show you every day for our just afternoon showers and storms. So I stopped it tomorrow at 11 p.m. I mean, we're almost 24 hours out, and it's just exiting the Caribbean and getting into the Gulf of Mexico. Now, let's go out to Tuesday afternoon at 2 o'clock. I stopped it here because these would be the first rain bands trying to get in here. You're trying to get in or out of Tampa flying, I would do it before noon on Tuesday, if you can do it, right? Not only is the weather going to start to roll in the afternoon, but the airlines are going to be moving planes out of here. And so lots of flights are going to be canceled Tuesday afternoon and evening because they're just not going to have the planes here. They don't want them here. I mean, here you go. You've got the storm, 100 miles, 200 miles offshore, west-southwest of Tampa at that particular time. All right, this is 2 o'clock Tuesday afternoon. Now, I will let you know this is a little bit sooner in time than the Hurricane Center forecast and the European, but they're not too far off. Okay, so this is kind of earlier things that happened before what would happen if you looked at the other models and forecasts. Now, these are quick-moving showers and storms. You get some gusty winds in here as well, too. The issue with these and these bands here along the coast is that we could have a tornado in those, right? This whole quadrant, you go down in the center here, and you go out there. This is the northeast quadrant here, right? And that quadrant tends to give us tornadoes. So as this thing is moving in this direction here, as it goes by, it's going to drag this northeast quadrant over top of us, and we're going to have a tornado threat. That's going to be the first part of this. All right? Rain will gradually pick up during the afternoon on Tuesday. Winds will gradually pick up during the afternoon on Tuesday. Not terrible. Not terrible at all. Tornado threat will be increasing Tuesday afternoon and early evening hours. Now, by the time we get to 7 p.m., and this is a little bit to our west-southwest, but now you start changing the wind around. Initially, the wind is basically blowing offshore here, right? But now you've got the wind coming in like this, and that's when the surge starts. So this is Tuesday evening. Tuesday evening. You see the time up here? 7 p.m. All right? So first we start with some showers. The breezes get a little bit heavier. Then as the sun sets, we start with the storm surge. Now, 11 p.m., high winds blowing straight into the Gulf, out of the Gulf of Mexico into the mouth of the bay. Water levels coming up. Along the beaches, water levels coming up. This is 1 a.m. on Wednesday morning. Landfall somewhat. Look, this is really close to Crystal River. If this were to happen, they'd probably be in that eastern eye wall. We're very close to it. This is going to change, guys. This is just a model. But this is fairly in line with the European model, which has been doing a pretty good job on it. Now, the winds will be decreasing after midnight if this holds. I think closer after about 3 to 4 a.m. But you're still going to have some wind. You're still going to have some surge. And you're still going to have these bands of heavy rainfall coming in. Right? Tornado threat goes away. But you definitely will have some heavy rainfall and some flooding potential in some areas. Wednesday at sunrise right there. Heavy rainfall still pushing through. And then by mid-morning, it looks like that we want to get a little bit of a break as some drier air gets wrapped in and winds will be coming down. So during the day on Wednesday in the Tampa area, the weather will be improving. This is noon on Wednesday, 12:30, and this particular model has it all the way up into the Charleston area at that time. So same model, but this is the forecasted winds. And some of these numbers really aren't that impressive. The highest winds are going to be right there along the coast. And here we go, Tuesday evening, winds in the 20s and 30s, gusts in the 40s. That's just inland, but you can add to 15, 20 miles per hour if you live right along the immediate coast. So that would mean winds 40s and 50s, gusts in the 70s and 80s for Tuesday night into early on Wednesday morning. And then by the time the sun comes up Wednesday morning, the winds are coming back down. Right, so this is a 24-hour thing that we're dealing with. Well, it's actually about 18 hours or so. And then the winds will be decreasing as we go through the day. European model, let me just show this in there real fast just because I want you to be able to see the difference. Look, our model had it right off the tip of Cuba. So does the European. Now let's go up here to, that's 7 p.m. Now our model had the center somewhere right about in here. That's not far off, right? There. All right? So that's very close. Landfall up near Chiefland. This is 11 p.m. Tuesday. Let's go to early in the morning, 6 a.m. So it's a little bit slower. Crystal River's right here. Chiefland's right there. They're very, very similar to our forecast model. And then things will be getting better, improving as we go through the day. This is the probability of tropical storm force winds, right? And right now for these like Sarasota, Tampa, Spring Hill, 50% chance that we see winds 40 to 70 mile per hour, right? Look at the red right along the immediate coast there. Obviously, the beaches have a better chance for seeing the higher wind. And there is a chance for hurricane force wind, especially in the gust. So let's go to storm surge real fast. I could go into every one of these nooks and crannies and some of the stuff you wouldn't even believe. And I'm hesitant to do that because I don't really want to, this is not, the object of this is not to hype this up and scare you. But the object is to give you kind of a heads up that, hey, look, you need to know what zone you live in. And tomorrow, they will start doing evacuations for parts of the area. They evacuate, if you're new to the area, they do evacuations because this water here, the bay, and this water here, this is Clearwater Beach right here, right, the Gulf, the wind literally blows the water up onto land. It's not flooding from rain. The wind is blowing in this direction, right? It's literally fills the bay up. Okay, and it's got nowhere else to go. The wind's still blowing, the water's still coming. So what happens is it starts filling in here. It gets pushed up onto land. This is Hillsborough Avenue, and I'll zoom in on this for a little bit. But Oldsmar, Racetrack Road, you know where the horse track is up there, Tampa Bay Downs? Let me zoom in here. This is Hillsborough Avenue underwater. This is Racetrack Road. There's the racetrack right in there. And you can see Oldsmar here as well. This is Oldsmar right in here. All right. And then there's the horse track. This is Lineball Avenue right here. Water almost up to Lineball Avenue. This is a very misleading area because it's hard to believe that the water can come up that far. This is worst case scenario. So what I would imagine is that, yeah, it's a possibility that we definitely get some water up onto parts of Tampa Road right up in there, right? Definitely a possibility. So this will kind of come and go, but the bottom line is we're going to get pretty decent surge. And let me go just do the Pinellas Beaches real fast for you here. In the bay, this whole area in northeast, St. Pete or old, you can see south of the Gandy Bridge, Feather Sound area. Shore Acres. What did I say? Shell Isle or something? Shore Acres. What I was thinking of. Yeah, this yellow and that's saying 3 to 5 foot of storm surge, and that's what the Weather Service is going with right now. 3 to 5 foot in some of these hardest hit areas. You get out to the beaches, and it's a good 3 to 5 foot there as well too. And then you work your way up to Clearwater and Tarpon Springs, and you got 3 to 5 foot. Watch what happens as we go up higher. Obviously, the center of the storm, could be going just like this. And so you're closer to the center of that wind, and that's going to blow that water. So this Crystal River area, I think, is probably going to get harder than anything else. We had a storm back in 2016 that put about 2 foot of water up towards Pine Island, or further up to the north and west of Chiefland. We could probably see 4 foot of water there. So if you remember 2016 and that flooding that you had then, this is further north and west of Crystal River. It's probably going to be a little bit worse. Crystal River, I mean, most of this area, 19, including 19, will have some water on it. So that's the forecast as it goes now. Again, that's kind of worst case scenario. But that's the reason why you need to know the zone that you live in. You need to know whether or not you are asked to evacuate. Again, I say that will start tomorrow. So here's what you need to know. Have your storm preps completed by late tomorrow afternoon, Monday afternoon. You may have some time actually early Tuesday. I say it's always best to get it done daylight hours, and we're talking tomorrow afternoon before sunset, just before 8 o'clock. Again, you'll have time tomorrow night and early on Tuesday as well, but the weather will gradually go downhill on Tuesday. The highest winds and the highest rain, too, I haven't talked much about that, but 4 to 6 inches will be along the immediate coast. And the best timing for all of this is Tuesday late afternoon through midday on Wednesday. I think overnight, Tuesday night into Wednesday morning is when we'll see the worst part of this, which will likely be the storm surge. I expect some power outages and all of that goes along with it. So don't forget all my social media guys. Bobby Deskins Weather on Facebook and on YouTube. Bobby D Weather on Instagram, and X is Bobby at WTSP. Let me get you back up here to where the system is right now. We're going to get through this, right? We always do. I think the important part here is to have your plan together and make sure you're staying informed, right? And that's our job here, is to keep you informed, prepared, and connected. That's kind of our line, and that's exactly what we intend to do with this. If you're new to the area, you can ask me questions on Facebook and on YouTube, the comment section. I'll try and go through and answer all of those, and I'll do some Facebook Lives here coming up too, just to be able to kind of answer your questions as they go by. But, you know, these things are kind of scary at first, and then they go by, and then typically it's not too bad. All right, I'll just say that. The issue with this one is if it stays strong, it stays just out over the water, but very close to us, that's a storm surge issue. And we have not seen a storm with a forecast like this in some time. So a lot of folks have lived here for a while. A lot of you had just moved here. It's hard to understand what storm surge can do. And like, I don't live that close to the water, but you live, this area is really flat. And so it's really easy to push that water up into those areas. So stay tuned. We're going to keep this coverage going for you. We'll be on tonight, Sunday night at 11:30 for a 1-hour broadcast on 10 Tampa Bay. Tomorrow morning, obviously dark and early, we'll get the morning show going. You'll see all of that, and then we'll continue our coverage throughout the day. It looks like probably go wall to wall sometime Tuesday afternoon. So take it easy out there. Be nice to everyone. Help everybody out. Check on your neighbors. Get those generators tested right now. Don't do it after the storm or in the middle of the storm, right? Make sure they work right now. Get all your supplies that you need. And take it easy on the people out there in the stores. It's crazy out there. All right, guys. We'll keep you updated. Take care. We're going to get through this.